Yes, welcome students. This is the video about the specimen paper 4 for syllabus 2023. It's question 5. Let me read out the question. Assess the contribution of foreign direct investment to the improvement of the standard of living in low income countries. Um, we haven't had many exam papers as per the new syllabus, but most of the exam paper which we have seen so far have included one macro question about living standards in low income countries. So I will urge students to do prepare the features of low income countries which are provided in paragraph number 1, and they also need to be aware what is the living, what do we mean by improvement in the standards of living. This question is about FDI, and this is quite similar to another question which was asked in a future exam paper, in another exam paper that was about multinational companies, MNCs. So in the first paragraph, the features of low income countries or developing countries provided, and these features are the low per capita income, high and rapidly growing population, dominance of subsistence farming. So these are the few features which you must prepare, as there are questions, repeated questions about low income and developing countries. Infrastructure is weak, low capital to labor ratio, labor is high but capital is low. So FDIs, the foreign direct investments, are different from portfolio investments. Portfolio investments are such which are temporary, like as a fund manager, I may put some money in Pakistan stock market to maximize the return of the person whose wealth I'm managing. But the moment I realize that Pakistan stock market is going to decline, I will be very quick to withdraw my money from Pakistan stock market and invest it somewhere else. So portfolio investments are temporary, short-lived, and we can call them hot money flows. On the other hand, FDIs, foreign direct investments, are more permanent, as they involve investing in plant and machinery, and actually they create some value within the country. They open factories or make some value addition facilities, like Toyota comes and opens another plant in Pakistan. That will be FDI. Compared to local investments, FDIs help in solving balance of payment problems. Now, one benefit of FDI and one superiority of FDI over local investment, that they bring foreign exchange. Developing countries, low-income countries often experience the shortage of foreign exchange. Their exports are primary goods which are not of high value, subsistence farming. They don't have strong technological base. Their imports are more, their exports are less, and that's why they are always in need of foreign currency. So these FDIs do not only bring in foreign currency, they help overcome the shortage of foreign exchange, but they also help generate export revenues, because multinational companies, the FDIs, these companies are strong companies with good repute, companies with good industrial base, companies with good brand recognition. So for them, raising export is relatively more easy than by a local firm. A local firm may have to create its international standing, but these international firms have already established brands and have already established brand loyalty, and they have strong international standing. So for them, raising export is easier. So for example, if a Chinese firm comes, say, in Pakistan and starts manufacturing solar panels with a known brand, it's easier for them to export those solar panels to other countries than when a local Pakistani firm starts producing solar with an unknown or a new brand. So FDIs on one hand bring in foreign exchange, on the other hand they help generate exports and they help substitute imports, and that's how they help overcome the shortage of foreign exchange for low income countries. So three things: they bring in foreign exchange, they generate exports, they help generate exports, and they help substitute imports. So Pakistan spends heavily on the imports of cell phones. So if iPhone builds a factory in Pakistan, FDI of iPhone, Apple in Pakistan, that will reduce the dependence on imported iPhones and that will reduce our import bill. The next paragraph, and that is again very, we can link it to Pakistan. Developing countries, the low-income countries have plenty of land and plenty of natural resources, but they are unable to tap those resources as low-income countries do not have the expertise and technology that is needed to exploit them. Look at the project Recotech. Now, Barrick Gold, a famous established international firm, according to their feasibility, it has copper and gold reserves of around $1,250 billion, $1,250 billion on current prices. That's their feasibility. Now that huge precious gold and copper, mainly copper, that is untapped because Pakistan does not have the technology and do not have the expertise to extract those resources and benefit from them. So Barrick Gold, the FDI can bring in the technology, can bring in the expertise and can help us benefit from those precious reserves. So that's another benefit of FDI. And of course, when they will come, that will lead to a high speed of economic growth. Then, foreign investments, they bring in better working conditions. They pay good salaries to the workers. They pay more training opportunities, better pays, better training opportunities for local workers. And of course, that will help improve their living standards. They'll get a decent pay, they will have better productivity, they will have a better pay and better training, and of course, with higher income, they'll be able to have a better living standard. Of course, with better training, the unit labor cost will also go down as workers become more productive, and that will help raise exports again. As our exports become, local goods will become more price competitive. In next paragraph, I mention the drawbacks, the limitations, the downside of FDI. The FDIs may bring labor from their own countries and provide only low-paying jobs to the local workers. The local workers, for local workers, MNCs or FDIs may not give good-paying jobs. And for technical jobs, for more complex jobs, for executive jobs, for managerial positions, they may bring in workers from their own countries. And that will, of course, have a little or insignificant effect on the living standards of local workers. Now, these local workers will send back their salaries to their own families, and of course, these foreign firms will also send back profits to their countries. So, all of this is going to be outflow in the primary section of the current account, and that will put our primary account deficit to a worse position. They'll take our deficit to a worse position. However, if the investments are coming from local businesses, there will be more jobs for the local workers, and those workers will not be sending their salaries to outside the country. They'll be using it domestically, and that will be a better and more effective way of raising living standards of local workers. The next paragraph. Foreign firms are often accused of being less sensitive to the environment, and their actions rapidly deplete the other. They are interested to get return on their investments as quickly as possible. They do not use environment-friendly production techniques. They do not worry about the deforestation. They do not worry about the damage their actions are going to cause to the environment. And that could again mean the living standards may temporarily improve, but in the long run, when environment will be damaged and the quality of life will be hampered and damaged environment, the growth will not be sustainable. And however, if there is another problem, another downside of FDI, they're quick to withdraw. They're quick to withdraw their investments in case there is a global crisis. When COVID happened, many FDIs left their investments and they just went out of the country and they left the business because they thought it would be too risky to continue working in a low-income country during the periods of COVID. So that makes FDIs make local businesses and local economy more vulnerable to a global shock because they will react more quickly to a global shock, whereas local businesses will take time and probably will delay their decisions of leaving the market as long as possible, and the economy will be insulated from global shocks if there are more investments coming from local investors. The next paragraph. Of course, there are benefits of FDIs. That is, they bring foreign exchange, they bring latest technology, they introduce better working practices, they provide job opportunities. But growth created by FDIs may not be sustainable. Now that is the worry. The growth brought by FDIs may not be sustainable, and if the growth is not sustainable, if the income they are bringing is not sustainable, living standards may not improve permanently. So there are drawbacks, and what are they? They are environmental degradation, deforestation, and over-exploitation of natural resources. And of course, there will be outflow of foreign exchange. And outflow of foreign exchange would be because of the import of raw materials, and it is because of the sending of profits and remittances of salaries and profits. So these are the drawbacks. So it is not established to establish a precise and clear link between FDIs and living standards. First, will FDI lead to economic growth? Yes or no? Number two, even if there is economic growth, will the benefit of economic growth be shared by everyone in the country, or it will be shared only, or it will be enjoyed only by a few people in the country? Now, if FDIs come but fail to result in economic growth, living standards will not improve. Let's assume FDIs come and they succeed in raising economic growth. Incomes go up, but those higher income go only to a very small percentage of the population, and they are not spread across equally and fairly. In that case, living standards will not improve. Again, economic growth is there, but that is at the expense of damage to the environment. Economic growth of current generation may improve, but economic growth of future generations may not improve. So it is difficult to establish a clear link between FDI and living standards. So living standards may go up because of higher export, because of more tax revenues, as more tax revenues will be spent for the welfare of people. But on the other hand, they may ignore external costs. So FDIs may ignore external costs, but on one hand, they may give additional tax revenue to the government. So there could be rapid depletion of reserves, of resources, of natural resources. So on one hand, there are people who are gaining, but on the other hand, people are losing. People who are gaining because government has more tax revenues from the operations of FDIs, and that tax revenue is probably spent on the education of people, students from underprivileged families. They are gaining, but environment is being damaged, and those who are suffering because of poor environment, they are losing. So we cannot really say with certainty that FDIs will surely improve the living standards. So the local labor do get jobs, but those jobs probably are low paid jobs. They are not jobs of managerial type. They are not jobs of which are of more technical and complex nature. So even in that case, they would not be. Workers will not have a chance to get value added skills. The living standards may not improve, and of course, FDIs may remit a huge part of their profit to their countries instead of reinvesting, and their income, the leakage of their income, will again result in poor living standards. So income may go up, employment may go up, but living standard is not just the income. Living standard is not a narrow measure that is focusing only on the material goods and services. Living standards is a more comprehensive term, and living standard includes quality of life. It measures is the quality of life improving, quality of life. Now, do people have more access to education? Do people have more access to health facilities? Do people have more access to a clean and healthy environment? Do people have access to leisure opportunities? Do people have access to freedom to speech? Is crime rate low? Is their life safe? Is their property safe? So all these things will also determine living standards. So FDIs come, they may generate more income, but income is only one part that determines living standard. We need to look at more comprehensively and more a greater picture to actually conclude that FDIs will go and lead to a clear or certain improvement in living standards. So quality of life is a more comprehensive term than just per capita income. Per capita income is a narrow way of judging living standards. So we need to look at whether the investment from FDIs have brought in more income, more tax revenues, and have those tax revenues be spent in upgrading education and health facilities in the country. If the answer to this question is yes, then we can say FDIs have resulted in improved living standards. However, if FDIs have resulted or their actions have resulted in environmental degradation, in that case, saying this that FDIs are helping raise living standard will not be easily possible. This concludes my discussion. Do subscribe our channel, share this video to those who may be interested in A-level economics. Thank you very much.